Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's presentation. I'm excited to have you here as we explore a fascinating topic. Today's focus is on a comprehensive overview of medical gases and their applications. The title is Comprehensive Overview of Medical Gases and Their Applications, with a subtitle highlighting properties, production, storage, and therapeutic uses. Over the next few minutes, we'll cover what these gases are, how they are produced and stored, and their vital roles in therapy. Let's get started. Let's take a closer look at some key concepts related to medical gases and their management. First, you'll notice the rule of thumb, which serves as a quick guide for understanding how we handle these gases. Moving on, the slide highlights the importance of keeping track of retest dates, ensuring that all cylinders pass their required specifications before use. You'll see markings such as the inspector's mark, testing, and inspection marks, which verify that the cylinders have undergone proper quality checks. The manufacturer's mark provides traceability back to the producer, and sometimes you'll see specific process marks, like the 0 spinning IS 7 process use, indicating particular manufacturing techniques. Ownership marks are also crucial. They tell us who owns each cylinder and help track material and ownership details. The slide mentions the original hydrostatic test, which is a critical safety check done before a cylinder is put into service, ensuring it can withstand the pressures it will face. When it comes to service pressure, knowing the maximum pressure a cylinder can handle is essential for safety and compliance. The elastic expansion of DOT specifications helps us understand how cylinders behave under pressure, ensuring they remain safe during use. Now, focusing on oxygen specifications, it's important to note that medical air compressors must produce dry gas, free of moisture, at a pressure of 50 sig and a flow rate of 100 liters per minute. This is vital because such conditions are necessary to power pneumatically driven equipment, like mechanical ventilators, which are life-critical devices. Overall, these details emphasize the importance of proper cylinder inspection, certification, and maintenance to ensure safety and reliability in medical settings. Welcome to Chapter 41, where we take a comprehensive look at medical gases and their applications. On this slide, we're focusing on the storage and delivery of these gases. Proper storage is crucial to maintain the safety and effectiveness of medical gases, so they are stored in specially designed cylinders or tanks that are clearly labeled and securely mounted. Delivery, on the other hand, involves precise control of pressure and flow, ensuring that the gases reach patients safely and reliably. This involves the use of regulators, pressure gauges, and delivery systems that are regularly maintained and tested. Connecting these points to our overall theme, understanding how we store and deliver gases is fundamental to providing safe, high-quality patient care. It's about ensuring that every step, from storage to patient delivery, adheres to strict safety standards. Let's dive into the next part of our overview. Here, we're focusing on various medical gases and their specific applications. When combined with oxygen, these gases serve different critical functions in healthcare. For example, anesthetic gases are essential for providing anesthesia during surgical procedures. They work alongside oxygen to ensure patients remain unconscious and pain-free. Moving on, therapeutic gases help relieve symptoms and are crucial for improving oxygenation in patients suffering from hypoxemia, which is a low level of oxygen in the blood. These gases play a vital role in supporting patient recovery and comfort. Then we have laboratory gases, which are primarily used for equipment calibration and diagnostic testing. Accurate calibration ensures that medical devices function correctly, and diagnostic testing with these gases helps in identifying various health conditions precisely. Overall, these different types of gases are integral to delivering safe, effective, and high-quality medical care across multiple settings. Let's take a closer look at the characteristics of medical gases, starting with oxygen, or O2. When we define it, we do so at standard temperature, pressure, and in a dry state, which is important for consistency. Now, one key point to remember is that the burning speed of oxygen actually increases when the total pressure of O2 goes up, assuming the gas concentration stays the same. This means that under higher pressure, oxygen can make combustion happen faster. Similarly, if we increase the percentage of oxygen while keeping the total pressure constant, the burning speed also increases. This is crucial because it highlights how oxygen concentration directly impacts combustion processes. It's also important to note that oxygen itself is non-flammable. However, it can significantly accelerate combustion, meaning it makes fires burn more intensely or quickly, even though it doesn't catch fire on its own. This is a vital safety consideration in medical settings. Moving on to its physical properties, oxygen is colorless, odorless, transparent, and tasteless, which makes it easy to administer without causing discomfort or suspicion. At standard conditions, its density is about 1.429 grams per liter, a detail that can be useful for understanding how it behaves in different environments. Overall, understanding these properties helps us appreciate how oxygen functions as a medical gas, ensuring its safe and effective use in clinical practice. Let's talk about how oxygen is produced, which is a key part of understanding medical gases. O2 can be produced through several methods, depending on the quantity needed. For small amounts of concentrated oxygen, we use a process called physical separation, where oxygen is separated directly from air. This method is efficient for smaller-scale needs. However, when we require large quantities of medical oxygen, the most common approach is fractional distillation of atmospheric air. This process involves cooling air until it liquefies and then carefully separating the components based on their boiling points. It's a reliable way to produce the large volumes of oxygen needed in hospitals and medical facilities. Understanding these production methods helps us appreciate the importance of ensuring a steady, safe supply of medical oxygen for patient care. Now, let's take a look at oxygen production, which is a critical part of our overall discussion on medical gases and their applications. First, it's important to note that the US FDA requires oxygen to have a purity of at least 99%. This standard ensures that the oxygen used in medical settings is safe and effective for patient care. Moving on to how oxygen is stored. After production, it can be stored either cryogenically, which involves extremely low temperatures, or as a gas in metal cylinders for easier handling and transport. Next, the process of separating oxygen from the air involves a few key steps. The mixture of gases is slowly heated so that nitrogen, which boils at a lower temperature, can be separated and boiled off, leaving behind mostly oxygen. This separation process is preceded by liquefying the air itself, which is achieved through compression and rapid expansion utilizing the Joule-Thomson effect. This cooling turns the air into a liquid, making the separation more efficient. Before these processes, atmospheric air is filtered to remove pollutants, water vapor, and carbon dioxide, ensuring that the air entering the system is clean and suitable for further processing. Finally, it's worth mentioning that the most common and least expensive method produces the largest quantities of oxygen, typically about 99.5% pure, which is generally sufficient for most medical applications. All of these steps together highlight how we efficiently produce high-purity oxygen to meet strict standards and support vital medical needs. Let's take a closer look at how oxygen concentrators work. A vacuum pulls ambient air through a special semi-permeable plastic membrane. Because of the membrane's properties, oxygen and water vapor pass through faster than nitrogen. This process results in an oxygen mixture that's about 40% pure. These devices are known as oxygen concentrators, and they're essential in medical settings for providing supplemental oxygen. Now, the key technology behind this is vacuum and membrane technology. Inside, molecular sieves act like tiny sponges. They absorb nitrogen, trace gases, and water vapor from the air. This selective absorption leaves behind a much higher concentration of oxygen, more than 90%. So, in essence, these molecular sieves help us concentrate oxygen efficiently. Connecting this to the overall theme, understanding these mechanisms helps us appreciate how vital and sophisticated medical gas systems are, ensuring patients receive the right oxygen levels safely and reliably. Oxygen concentrators are essential medical devices that help deliver oxygen to individuals who have breathing-related challenges. They work by filtering and concentrating oxygen molecules from the ambient air around us, providing a continuous and reliable supply of oxygen. This makes them particularly important for patients with conditions like chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, asthma, and other respiratory issues. One of the biggest advantages of oxygen concentrators is their portability. They can be used at home or in healthcare facilities, offering flexibility and convenience. Compared to traditional oxygen tanks, these devices are safer and easier to manage, making them a practical solution for ongoing oxygen therapy. Throughout this presentation, we see how medical gases like oxygen play a vital role in improving patient care and quality of life. Let's take a closer look at the characteristics of medical gases, starting with air. First, physically, air is both colorless and odorless, which makes it ideal for medical use because it won't cause any irritation or discomfort. When we talk about medical-grade air, it's important to note that this is produced by filtering and compressing atmospheric air, ensuring it meets strict purity standards. Now, considering its density, at standard temperature and pressure conditions, or STPD, air has a density of about 1.29 grams per liter. This measurement is significant because it affects how air flows through equipment and impacts respiratory therapy. Moving on to its composition, air is a naturally occurring mixture of gases. It's mostly made up of about 20.95% oxygen, which is obviously critical for respiration, and approximately 78.1% nitrogen, which acts as a filler gas. There are also around 1% of trace gases, which include other minor components naturally present in the atmosphere. Understanding these properties helps us appreciate why air is such a fundamental medical gas, and how its characteristics influence its safe and effective use in various clinical applications. Today, I want to talk about the characteristics of medical gases, starting with air. Air is perhaps the most familiar medical gas, but it plays a critical role in healthcare. It's a natural mixture of gases, primarily nitrogen and oxygen, with small amounts of other gases like carbon dioxide and argon. Its composition makes it ideal for various medical applications. In medical settings, we use medical air to provide clean, breathable air for patients who need respiratory support. It's specially filtered and compressed to ensure purity and safety. Because air is essential for respiration, understanding its characteristics helps us ensure it meets the necessary quality standards for clinical use. Overall, while air might seem simple, its proper preparation and understanding are vital for effective patient care. It's a fundamental component of many respiratory therapies and equipment, underpinning the safe delivery of oxygen and other treatments. Now, let's take a closer look at carbon dioxide, or CO2, as a medical gas. It has some unique properties that make it particularly useful in healthcare settings. For example, CO2 is often used in diagnostic procedures within clinical laboratories. It's commonly employed for calibrating blood gas analyzers, ensuring that test results are accurate and reliable. One important characteristic of CO2 is that it does not support combustion. This means it cannot help a fire to burn, which is a safety feature in many medical environments. Additionally, CO2 is not suitable for sustaining life, so it's not used for breathing or respiratory support. Physically, at standard temperature and pressure conditions, what we call STPD, CO2 appears as a colorless and odorless gas. Its specific gravity is about 1.52, which means it is roughly 1.5 times heavier than air. This property influences how it behaves in different environments, especially when used in medical applications. Understanding these characteristics helps us appreciate why CO2 is valuable in specific medical contexts, particularly in diagnostics and laboratory calibration, even though it's not suitable for supporting life or combustion. Let's take a closer look at some key characteristics of medical gases, starting with carbon dioxide, or CO2. One of its important uses is in helping regulate pulmonary vascular pressures, especially in certain congenital heart disorders. This means that Carbogen can assist in managing blood flow and pressure in the lungs, which is crucial for patient stability. Another important application is during cardiopulmonary bypass procedures. Carbogen plays a role here by preventing the complete washout of CO2, which helps maintain proper gas exchange and stability during these complex surgeries. Carbogen also has a role in managing singultus, or hiccups. It's quite effective in this regard because altering CO2 levels can influence the reflex pathways that cause hiccups, providing relief for patients experiencing persistent episodes. Additionally, mixtures of oxygen with small amounts of CO2, typically 5% or 7%, are used for therapeutic purposes. This mixture, known as Carbogen, can improve oxygen delivery and has various clinical applications. Overall, the use of Carbogen in these different settings highlights its versatility and importance in respiratory and cardiovascular care. Let's take a closer look at the characteristics of medical gases, focusing on helium, or He. First, it's important to remember that helium must always be combined with oxygen for medical applications. When mixed with oxygen, the resulting gas is called heliox, which is used in specific respiratory treatments. Now, helium alone doesn't support life, so it must always be mixed with at least 20% oxygen to be safe for patient use. Moving on to physical properties, helium has a density of about 0.1785 grams per liter, which is significantly less than air or oxygen. This low density makes helium unique, especially in respiratory therapy. Additionally, helium is odorless, tasteless, and non-flammable, and it is chemically and physiologically inert. That means it doesn't react easily with other substances and doesn't pose toxic risks, making it very suitable for medical purposes. So, understanding these properties helps us appreciate why helium, when combined properly, plays such a vital role in certain medical treatments. Let's talk about heliox and why it's such an interesting medical gas. One of its key features is its low density, which actually helps decrease the work of breathing for patients. This is because the gas flows more smoothly, or more laminar, through the airways. By making airflow more efficient, heliox can significantly reduce the effort needed to breathe, especially in patients with compromised airway function. Clinically, heliox is particularly useful in managing severe cases of airway obstruction. When the airway is blocked or inflamed, normal breathing can become very difficult. Using heliox helps ease this burden and improves ventilation. Most commonly, we see two mixtures of heliox in practice: 80, 20, and 70, 30. These ratios refer to the proportions of helium and oxygen, and they're chosen based on the specific needs of the patient and the severity of their condition. Overall, heliox's unique properties make it a valuable tool in respiratory management, especially when airway resistance is a major concern. Today, I want to talk about the therapeutic use of heliox. As part of our comprehensive overview of medical gases and their applications, heliox plays a crucial role in certain treatments. It is used in medical treatments specifically to reduce airway resistance, making breathing easier for patients. This is especially beneficial for individuals with obstructive airway diseases, where airflow is compromised. By using heliox, we can improve oxygen delivery to the lungs and simultaneously reduce the work of breathing. This dual benefit helps alleviate symptoms and supports better respiratory function. As we see, heliox exemplifies how medical gases can be tailored for targeted therapeutic purposes, fitting into the broader theme of optimizing patient care through specialized gas interventions. Now, let's discuss the health risks associated with nitric oxide. Exposure to this gas can potentially lead to serious conditions such as chemical pneumonitis, pulmonary edema, and tissue hypoxia. These are all linked to the toxic effects of nitric oxide on the respiratory system. Specifically, when someone is exposed to high concentrations of nitric oxide, it can cause methemoglobinemia, a condition where the blood's ability to carry oxygen is impaired. This, in turn, can result in tissue hypoxia, meaning that tissues don't get enough oxygen to function properly. Both nitric oxide and nitrogen dioxide are strong respiratory irritants. They can cause chemical pneumonitis, which is inflammation of the lung tissue, and in severe cases, can lead to pulmonary edema that could be fatal. An important point to remember is that nitric oxide, when mixed with air, forms brown fumes of nitrogen dioxide, or NO2. This reaction is significant because NO2 is highly toxic and irritating to the lungs. Physically, nitric oxide is a colorless and non-flammable gas, but it is toxic and supports combustion. So, even though it doesn't burn on its own, it can still contribute to fire hazards under certain circumstances. Understanding these properties and risks is crucial when handling nitric oxide safely in medical settings, especially given its vital therapeutic uses. Let's take a closer look at nitric oxide, or NO, which is a key medical gas used specifically for treating hypoxic respiratory failure in infants. This is a very specialized treatment, and one of the main points to remember is that it is quite an expensive medication. Cost considerations are important because they can impact how widely it's used and in what settings. Despite its high cost, nitric oxide has also been used in adult patients, although the results in adults have been mixed. Some studies show benefit, while others are less conclusive, so its use in adults remains somewhat experimental or case-dependent. Now, what makes nitric oxide particularly effective is its mechanism of action. It acts as a selective pulmonary vasodilator, meaning it specifically dilates the blood vessels in the lungs that are near open alveoli, improving oxygen exchange without causing widespread blood vessel dilation elsewhere in the body. This targeted effect is crucial because it helps improve ventilation perfusion matching, which is often disrupted in respiratory failure. And speaking of approved uses, the FDA has approved nitric oxide for treating term and near-term infants suffering from hypoxic respiratory failure. The typical dosing is around 20 parts per million, which is carefully controlled to maximize benefits while minimizing potential side effects. So, in summary, nitric oxide is a highly specialized, FDA-approved therapy with a clear mechanism of action. It's primarily used in neonatal care, but understanding its properties and costs helps us appreciate its role within the broader context of medical gases and respiratory treatments. Nitric oxide, or NO, is a fascinating molecule that plays a vital role in many physiological and pathological processes within our bodies. It's primarily known as a signaling molecule, meaning it helps cells communicate with each other. For example, it's involved in vasodilation, which is the widening of blood vessels, helping to regulate blood flow and blood pressure. It also plays a significant role in neurotransmission, the process by which nerve cells communicate, and in our immune response, helping to defend against infections. The body synthesizes nitric oxide from an amino acid called L-arginine with the help of an enzyme known as nitric oxide synthase, or NOS. Because nitric oxide has a very short half-life, it doesn't stay in the body for long. Instead, it is quickly converted into other nitrogen oxides, which continue to carry out various functions. In addition to its natural roles, nitric oxide is used in medical treatments, such as inhaled nitric oxide therapy for certain respiratory conditions. This highlights how understanding and harnessing this molecule can have important therapeutic benefits. Overall, nitric oxide is a key player in maintaining our health, connecting its physiological roles to its potential in medical applications, which ties nicely into our broader theme of medical gases and their diverse uses. Now, let's look at the characteristics of nitrous oxide, or N2O, as a medical gas. First, in terms of regulatory standards, the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, or NIOSH, has set an upper exposure limit for hospital operating rooms at 25 parts per million. This is crucial because it helps ensure the safety of healthcare workers and patients alike. Moving on to health risks, long-term exposure to N2O can be problematic. It has been linked to nerve issues, known as neuropathy, and studies have also suggested it might increase the risk of fetal disorders and spontaneous abortion in pregnant women. So, Proper handling and exposure controls are vital. Next, regarding its life support limitations, it's important to remember that nitrous oxide cannot support life on its own. It must always be mixed with oxygen to be safe and effective for patient care. Clinically, N2O is primarily used as an anesthetic agent because of its ability to depress the central nervous system. This makes it valuable in various surgical procedures where sedation and pain relief are needed. Finally, on physical properties, nitrous oxide is a colorless gas, and it has a slightly sweet odor and taste, which is often noticeable when it's administered. Understanding these properties helps us handle it properly and recognize it in clinical settings. Now, let's talk about the storage of medical gases and the regulations that ensure their safe handling. The Department of Transportation, or DOT, plays a crucial role here. They set the rules for manufacturing, testing, and transporting gas cylinders. These regulations are especially important because they include hazardous materials like compressed gases and cryogenic liquids, which can be dangerous if not properly managed. Specifically, the DOT oversees the entire life cycle of these cylinders, from their manufacture and testing to their transportation. This helps prevent accidents and ensures safety for both healthcare workers and patients. When it comes to the materials used, gas cylinders are typically made from seamless steel, carbon steel, or steel alloys. And it's important to remember that all these materials and the cylinders themselves are classified and regulated by the DOT, making sure they meet strict safety standards. The design, manufacturing processes, transportation, and even the use of these cylinders are governed by various industrial standards and federal regulations. These rules are in place to make sure that whether you're storing or shipping medical gases, everything is done safely and consistently. Lastly, these cylinders are specifically used to store and transport compressed or liquid medical gases. Their proper use and regulation are vital to maintaining safety in any medical setting. So, understanding these regulations helps us appreciate the importance of safety and compliance in medical gas storage and transport. Let's talk about the importance of markings on gas cylinders. These markings are crucial because they help us ensure proper identification and compliance with safety standards. When you see these markings, you can quickly verify the cylinder's specifications and safety status. One key aspect is that the results of pressure testing are stamped directly on the tank. This documentation allows inspectors and users to confirm that the cylinder has been tested and meets safety requirements. During these tests, we measure important factors like cylinder leakage, expansion, and wall stress, which are all critical indicators of the cylinder's integrity. The testing process involves pressurizing the cylinders during safety tests to about 5/3 of their service pressure. This helps us simulate real-world conditions and ensure the cylinder can handle it safely. Safety tests are not just one-off. They're conducted regularly, every 5 or 10 years, according to DOT regulations, to keep safety standards up to date. Now, in terms of markings and identification, gas cylinders are color-coded and also stamped with metal marks on the shoulder. These markings provide vital information such as the size of the cylinder, its normal filling pressure, serial number, ownership details, and the method of manufacturing. All of these markings work together to make sure the cylinders are easily identifiable, safe to use, and properly maintained throughout their lifespan. Let's now take a closer look at gas cylinders, which are fundamental components in the storage and delivery of medical gases. These cylinders are designed to safely contain gases under high pressure, ensuring that they can be used reliably and securely in various healthcare settings. The key points to remember are their robust construction, which must meet strict safety standards, and their different sizes and types tailored for specific gases and applications. For example, oxygen cylinders are common for both hospital use and emergency situations, while specialized cylinders might be used for gases like nitrous oxide or medical air. Understanding how these cylinders work and their safety features helps us appreciate their vital role in providing effective patient care. Overall, gas cylinders are an essential part of the medical gas supply chain, supporting everything from routine treatments to critical life-saving interventions. Let's take a closer look at the color codes for medical gas cylinders. These color codes are essential because they allow us to quickly identify the gases contained within each cylinder, which is crucial for safety and proper application. Each gas has a standardized color, making it easier for healthcare professionals to recognize them at a glance. For example, oxygen cylinders are typically painted green, while nitrous oxide might be blue. Understanding these color codes helps prevent mix-ups and ensures that the right gas is used for the right treatment or procedure. This system is part of our broader theme of understanding medical gases and their applications, emphasizing safety, efficiency, and proper handling in healthcare settings. So, always remember to check the color coding before connecting any cylinder to a patient or equipment. Let's talk about gas cylinders and how they are classified. Essentially, they are categorized based on two main factors: their size and the type of valve they have. This classification helps ensure proper handling and safe usage across different medical settings. Now, focusing first on large cylinders, these typically feature a threaded valve outlet. This design allows for secure attachment and is suitable for high-volume applications. The large cylinders come in several sizes, specifically F, G, H, and K, each designed to meet different capacity needs. On the other hand, small cylinders are equipped with a post valve and a yoke connector. This setup makes them more portable and easier to connect to various devices. When we talk about small cylinders, sizes E through AA fall into this category, so they are often used in situations where mobility and convenience are key. Finally, to keep things organized, letter designations are used to identify the different sizes of cylinders. This system helps medical professionals quickly recognize and select the appropriate cylinder for each application, maintaining safety and efficiency. Understanding these distinctions is crucial, as it ties into the overall theme of safe and effective use of medical gases in healthcare environments. Now, let's talk about the pressure inside these gas cylinders. It's important to understand that tank pressure could still possibly rise over time. If it does, there's a risk that the tank could eventually rupture, which might lead to an explosion. That's a serious safety concern we need to keep in mind. To help prevent this, safety relief valves are always located on the cylinder's valve stem. These valves serve a crucial purpose. Their main function is to vent gas to the atmosphere if the tank gets heated, such as in a fire situation. By doing this, they prevent the pressure inside the tank from becoming dangerously high. So, these safety relief valves are an essential safety feature. They act as a safeguard to protect both personnel and equipment by releasing excess pressure before it reaches a critical level. This underscores how important proper safety measures are when handling medical gases. Let's talk about service pressure, which is a really important safety feature when dealing with medical gas cylinders. You'll notice that this information is stamped right on the shoulder of the cylinder, making it easy to find. This marking helps us understand the proper filling practices to ensure safety and efficiency. Now, even though the service pressure is a maximum recommended level, approved cylinders can actually be filled slightly beyond that, up to 10% above the service pressure. This extra margin allows us to make sure the cylinder is used safely and efficiently without overpressurizing. It's also important to remember that compressed gases are typically filled to their designated service pressure, which is clearly indicated on the shoulder of the cylinder. And just to keep everything consistent and safe, the filling process is usually done at a standard temperature of 70 degrees Fahrenheit. All of these details, from the markings to the filling practices, are crucial for maintaining safety and proper function of the cylinders in medical applications. Now, let's talk about filling cylinders with liquefied gases. When we fill these cylinders, it's important to do so according to a specific filling density. This filling density is basically the ratio between the weight of the liquid gas we put into the cylinder and the weight of water the cylinder would contain if it were completely filled. What this means practically is that the cylinder isn't filled all the way with liquid gas. There's always a space above the liquid. This space contains gaseous vapor, which is necessary to keep the liquid stable under pressure. Understanding this concept helps us ensure safety and efficiency when handling medical gases stored as liquids. It's a crucial part of managing these cylinders properly, ensuring they are filled correctly without risking overpressurization or other hazards. So, in essence, we're balancing the amount of liquid we put in with the space needed for the gas to vaporize, maintaining safe and effective storage. When it comes to measuring the contents of a cylinder, the most accurate method is actually weighing the cylinder when it's filled with liquid. This is much more reliable than trying to gauge it by pressure alone. You see, the pressure inside a gas cylinder is directly proportional to the volume of gas it contains, but it doesn't tell you the exact amount of gas, only how much pressure is exerted. So, if you want to know precisely how much gas is in the cylinder, the best way is to measure its weight after filling it with liquid. This way, you can determine the actual amount of gas based on its volume, which is directly related to the pressure, but not the pressure itself. It's important to remember that measuring pressure alone isn't enough to know how much gas is present. Whether it's a liquid-filled cylinder or a gas-filled cylinder, understanding this relationship helps us manage and utilize these gases safely and effectively in medical settings. Now, let's talk about estimating how long a gas cylinder will last during therapy. This is a crucial step for proper planning and ensuring we have enough gas to meet patient needs without interruptions. The key idea here is understanding the relationship between the cylinder's contents, the flow rate, and the pressure. To do this, we look at the content in liters, so how much gas is in the cylinder, and the flow rate in liters per minute, which tells us how fast the gas is being used. We also consider the pressure inside the cylinder, measured in pounds per square inch gauge, or SIG. There are some key variables involved in calculating the flow duration. For example, the cylinder factor, which depends on the size of the cylinder. For different cylinder sizes, we have specific factors, like 0.16 for D cylinders, 0.28 for E cylinders, 2.41 for G cylinders, and 3.14 for H or K cylinders. These factors help us convert pressure into the volume of gas available. To determine how long the gas will last, we use a simple formula. The duration equals the content in liters divided by the flow rate in liters per minute. Alternatively, when starting therapy, we can estimate duration by multiplying the initial pressure in SIG by the cylinder factor, then dividing by the flow rate. This calculation takes into account the cylinder size, the starting pressure, and the flow rate, all of which are essential factors affecting how long the gas will last. Remember, understanding these variables helps us plan effectively and avoid running out of gas unexpectedly during treatment. All right, let's walk through how long an E-cylinder with a 1500 psi pressure can last when it's being used at a flow rate of 4 liters per minute. First, we need to understand that the calculation involves a couple of key numbers. The starting point is the pressure in the cylinder, which is 1500 psi. To convert that pressure into usable gas volume, we multiply it by a conversion factor. In this case, that factor is 0.28. So, 1500 times 0.28 gives us 420. This number represents the total volume of gas available in cubic feet. Next, to find out how long the cylinder will last, we divide this total volume by the flow rate, which is 4 liters per minute. When we do that, 420 divided by 4 equals 105. So, the cylinder should last approximately 105 minutes under these conditions. This calculation is really useful because it helps us anticipate how long our oxygen supply will last during procedures, ensuring safety and continuous care. It's a simple yet vital part of managing medical gases efficiently. Now, let's talk about liquid oxygen cylinders and how we determine the amount of gas they contain. The first key point is that we need to know the weight of the liquid oxygen. This is essential because it allows us to understand how much gas can be produced from that liquid. Next, there's a specific conversion factor for liquid oxygen. For every liter of liquid oxygen, which weighs about 2.5 pounds, we get approximately 860 liters of gaseous oxygen. So, if we know the weight of the liquid oxygen in the cylinder, We can calculate the total gas volume by multiplying the weight by 860 and then dividing by 2.5. This leads us to the third step, calculating the amount of gas in the cylinder. The formula is straightforward. Take the weight of the liquid oxygen in pounds, multiply it by 860, and divide by 2.5. That gives us the total gas volume in liters. Finally, to determine how long the gas will last during use, we divide the total gas volume by the flow rate in liters per minute. This tells us the duration of gas flow, which is crucial for planning and ensuring continuous supply. By understanding these steps, we can efficiently manage oxygen supply, ensuring patient needs are always met. This process ties back to the overall theme of effectively utilizing medical gases to provide safe and reliable care. Let's take a moment to review the key points about liquid oxygen cylinders. First, when handling medical gases, it's important to remember the color codes used to identify each gas. In the United States, oxygen cylinders are green, while in Canada they are white. In both countries, carbon dioxide cylinders are gray and nitrous oxide cylinders are blue. Next, a crucial safety warning. These cylinders contain gas under pressure. They can explode if heated, so always handle with care. Also, since they can cause or intensify fires, keep them away from open flames or heat sources. And an oxidizer like oxygen can increase breathing and heart rates, so proper precautions are essential. In case of accidental inhalation, the first aid is straightforward. Immediately move the person to fresh air and help them stay calm. Safety always comes first. Regarding the cylinders themselves, they are often filled to a service pressure of around 2200 psi, even though the rated service pressure is 2015 psi. The cylinders are made from chrome molybdenum steel, ensuring durability and safety. A key point about oxygen sources. Oxygen from a liquid tank or cylinder is typically over 99% pure, which is more than enough for most medical applications. In contrast, oxygen from concentrators ranges from about 90% to 96% pure. When switching from a cylinder to a concentrator, you might need to increase the flow rate to maintain the same oxygen saturation in the patient. Finally, a practical question. How long will a 3-pound liquid oxygen tank last if it's running at 2 liters per minute? This depends on the tank's volume and usage, but understanding this helps us plan patient care and ensure continuous oxygen supply. That wraps up our overview of liquid oxygen cylinders and their important considerations.